What's next? The things in others that annoy us most are the things that annoy us about ourselves, and we try to hide it. I'm just realizing this now, or one issue of it, how true the statement is. I'm an introvert, and sometimes even having a conversation can be painful, but I realized if you want to be social, you have to lead a conversation or thought of as a weirdo. That's not exactly true. The big problem, I've discussed it before, is your fear of what other people think of you is one of your biggest obstacles. So, back to the issue. I'm an introvert, and one of the things I go to is these daily Zoom meetings for my company, and you discuss what you did the day before and what you plan for doing the rest of the day, and if you have to have any meetings with anybody. And usually those meetings are already scheduled, but it's basically good to process just touching base with your group. It's nice. But because of the way the situation is, I'm always the last to go, or one of the few. Most time I'm one of the last to go, because I have very little to say. I'm very good at being succinct and effective at it. But sometimes there is a particular person who knows how to lead the conversation and extrapolate on and just talk, and she uses flowery words and thank you, and this was great, and this was lovely, and basically she adds a lot of adjectives to her words, and it annoys and irritates me. But of course I'm not going to say it to her. I just plow through it. And I'm realizing what irritates me most is that when I take hold of a situation or control of a conversation as an introvert, I'm not very good at conversations. These are the things I do. Look for ways of extrapolating and adding to a simply boring story. Because in all honesty, I can tell a story clearly, succinctly, and compassionately, quickly. But when you have a conversation going, you want to lead it, you want to be interesting, you kind of want to be the center of attention, because that's where you're supposed to be. You're in the middle of the room, you're presenting, you want to be interesting, so you make it flowery, and that's what this woman was, or is, or potentially does every time. And it annoys me, and now I feel bad. But I've learned. It's a good point. I shouldn't feel bad because I'm learning. And even though I am annoyed by it, irritated by it, it's taught me a lesson. That maybe she is actually an introvert and comes out as an extrovert and is trying to take control of a conversation, because she also feels nervous. That's the word I'm looking for, nervous. And that makes me feel better. I mean, I know that at times when I have conversations, I've learned to look for when eyes glaze over and people stop listening. And sometimes people are just so rude that they just continue on another conversation and ignore me completely. And that's just part of the deal, where you have to learn your audience. And although she is close to my age, she hasn't learned her audience. That's not my problem. Everyone's personal path is their own. And my job is only to offer compassion. And if she asks for help, I offer it. And during a meeting, it's my turn to go. I can be clear and concise and not affect her whatsoever. And during a meeting, she can be flowery and add her adjectives and add to her presentation extraneous information. And that's fine too. And I will pay attention to every word she says, because at the end, at the whole core of the whole statement or her presentation, there's important information, and I'm not going to miss it. Others might, but that's just not me. And I'm going to continue on my journey of non-judgment. And even though I might occasionally judge, I'm going to learn from it. I'm not going to beat myself up. Another person, you shouldn't judge is yourself. So if you find yourself judging others, stop yourself, learn your lesson, and then don't beat yourself up about it, because it's not a problem, because you're learning. When we judge others, we just got to learn from that experience and not judge ourselves. That's all life is about learning and walking the path. And if you find yourself irritated by others, it's a time to go through a tough lesson. If you find yourself judging somebody, another time for a tough lesson. And another tough lesson adding on to that is not to beat yourself up and not to judge yourself, because we're all on this path together. And if we can learn together, great. If you have to learn individually, great. And if sometimes we learn individually, but someone else along the path asks for help, we can freely give it with no attachments and just a friendly smile. But these are my ideas. You might have your own, and I welcome every single one of them. If you want to criticize me and insult me, that's fine. But we all grow together, or we fall apart by ourselves. What's next?